The mid-1960s gave way to the rise of the hippies. Compared to the generation before them, hippies had liberal attitudes towards drugs and sex. The hippie movement went against the Baptist tradition upon which the University of Richmond was founded. In the spring of 1968, the university's newspaper, the Collegian, surveyed students' attitudes towards and participation in premarital sex and illegal drugs. They collected student responses during assemblies and class meetings. Roughly 51% of the student population answered the survey. On May 10, 1968, the Collegian published an article which revealed the results from parts of the survey. Of the 1,371 participants, 13.9% had or were presently using marijuana, and 2.7% had taken or were presently taking LSD. 29.6% of their participants agreed that marijuana should be legalized in the United States. However, before the remainder of the survey could be published, the University of Richmond Board of Publications, a group of students, faculty, and alumni, unanimously voted against it. The remaining survey results were thus never published. The board claimed 1. It is not the function of the Collegian to create news. 2. The survey was improperly conducted. 3. The questionnaire was not properly formulated. In a letter sent to Peter R. Neal, a member of the class of 1959 who had written an article against segregation while at the university, an unknown sender wrote that freedom of the press is important, but to enjoy this freedom, any publication must exercise reasonable restraint. It was thus the unanimous decision of the board that the Collegian was not exercising the necessary restraint and that the results of the survey would constitute a disservice to the university. A letter from President George Maudlin to Neal echoed these sentiments. It is interesting that the Collegian was not barred from publishing the drug survey, but was stopped from publishing the sex survey results. Was the administration angry that the newspaper published the drug survey and censored the sex survey as a result? Was there something in the sex survey particularly damaging to the university's reputation? The Board of Publications censorship of the Collegian was met with backlash from students and the newspaper itself, which published an editorial in its May 17, 1968 issue expressing its frustration. In this opinion titled Censored, the editorial board wrote that they believe that two of the board's reasons, that it is not the Collegian's purpose to create news and that the questions were not formulated properly, were invalid. The editorial conceded that the survey may not have been conducted correctly, noting that an article would have been published with the survey's shortcomings. In its defense, the editorial argued that the purpose of the Collegian survey was not to create news, but to inform the campus of conditions as they really exist. The survey questions were taken from a similar survey conducted at the College of William and Mary, which had been published in their newspaper, The Flat Hat. William and Mary's questions were drafted with help from the college's sociology department, suggesting that they had been pre-vetted by experts in the field. The editorial questioned the board's reason for censoring the Collegian and addressed the concern that the survey could be harmful to the university. The editorial acknowledged that it is important to face life as it is and not bury our heads in the sand. The editorial also noted that the newspaper did not create the situations in the survey and claimed that their audience may be interested in their findings. Neal wrote to President Maudlin on June 24, 1968, hoping that another survey would be conducted in the fall and published in the Collegian with an explanation as to why the first survey was not published. He said, "This would help to dispel the notion that the university is afraid to raise the issue of sex on campus and that the opposition of the Baptist Church was the real reason for the survey not being published." The Flat Hat survey was published in its April 19, 1968 issue, roughly a month before the Collegian sex survey would have been published. The headline at William and Mary read, "Sex Survey Reveals Campus Conservatism." Their survey featured questions such as, "Have you ever engaged in sexual intercourse?" and asked participants if they agreed or disagreed with statements such as, "I believe artificial birth control is morally right." According to their results, most undergraduate students had never engaged in sexual intercourse and only 25% believed premarital sex was morally right. The author of Censored wrote that the Collegian survey indicated limited use of drugs and sex outside the norms of society, which the UR Drug Survey confirms. Despite the lack of significant data that the campus culture at UR was liberal, the board likely censored the newspaper to preserve the reputation the university wished to project, that of a morally upright religious institution. However, there seemed to be a conflict between the identity the administration wished to present and the reality of the campus's culture. We cannot access these results today, which means that the administration never wanted anyone outside of the University of Richmond to know about these results. What did the Collegian find that the administration was so afraid of that they censored a student publication? Was there anything substantial? Why was the newspaper allowed to publish the drug survey and not the sex survey? As a modern-day researcher, I can only speculate about the results. However, this also begs the question, what else has the university kept secret?